Hello everyone, this is Rick and thanks for joining this tutorial. This is the 7th Excel 2007 tutorial, and I'm going to cover a couple things in here, and it's really talking about worksheet operations, but we're going to talk about name a range of cells, like a list for example. Talk about data validation, which is a way of validating the data that is put into cells, making users conform to the appropriate data entry. We're going to talk about how to hide a worksheet and also how to protect a workbook. Okay, so jumping right in here, what I've done here is I've created just a basic template. And in this case, we're creating a mailing list. So this might be, you've got someone, you're collecting information from somebody, or you're having someone do data entry, and you just want to make sure they conform to appropriate standards and defaults. So for example, I'll start to fill this in and show you what an example here where we might use a list and data validation. So if we have an address and a user, Mike Smith lives at 123 Main Street, and we'll say they live in Miami, and then they live in Florida. So you might have a user type FLA, and then they might typo the zip code and put in 6 characters. Then they might put in, for the 4-digit extension, they might put in 3 characters. So this isn't going to work for a mailing code, because they'll have to be two character state codes. This has the wrong number of digits in it, and this has the wrong number of digits in it. So what we're going to do here is we want to validate this data. So we're going to get rid of that. And what I've done here is, if you look at sheet 2 here, I've created a list of the state codes. And what I've done is I've gone up here and I've named these. So what you do is highlight your cells that you want to create a list in. And to highlight them again, click on the cell A1, click and hold the left mouse button and just drag it down until you get to the last cell that you want in your range. And whatever that name is there, highlight it and type the new name. So I'm going to call it state. And then if I go over here to my mailing list again, and I want to validate everything in this state column, I'm going to highlight the cells that I want to conform to that list, and then I click on, if I'm on the home button, I click on data validation. And over here we're looking at our validation criteria. So instead of allow any value, we say allow a list, and then the source we say equal to, and we just put the name of the list. Then click OK. You notice what happens here is it has a drop down list. If I try to type in FLA now, I get an error. Okay? So zip code, we know we always want it to be five characters. So I do the same thing. I highlight those cells, I click data validation, and I change it to text length, and I say is equal to, and then I put in the length, I put equals to 5, click OK. Same thing for the 4-digit extension. 4-digit zip code extension, and I'm going to say text length equal to 4. Okay? So now I have to conform to this list. If I typo the number of characters, it gives me an error, so this is going to reduce your data entry errors. And then also same thing here. So I have 4 characters. If I were to do 5 characters, I would get an error. Okay? So one thing I want to mention here, if you need to edit this name range, right, let's say I wanted to come back and add in the Virgin Islands or something like that as a valid code, that would alter my name range. So what I could do there is I can go under formulas, and I can go to name manager under the define names category here, and you see it's here, and you can edit it here if you want to. For example, go to A51, for example. If you want to delete this whole range and just start from scratch, click delete, or you could even name a range here. Okay? Next thing I wanted to show you is if you're taking this sheet and now you're going to mail it to somebody or put it on a server drive or whatever and have people use it, you might have this list over here, and you might have another list of other valid information, another list, and so forth. So you might not want them to see this sheet here. So what you can do is right click it and say hide, and it will just hide that sheet. But you can see it's still there, it's still valid. Okay. To unhide it, it's very simple. You click, let me do that again. You right click on the existing sheet and just say unhide, and it will ask you what you want to unhide as far as sheets go. Alright? So one other thing I wanted to point out is there is another way to hide a sheet that would be lock them down more, but to unhide it would require some Visual Basic for applications that we'll touch on much later in another lesson. Okay, so but for right now, I just want to show you how to do a basic hide of that sheet. And then the last thing that I want to show you is, I'm going to go ahead and hide this again, is if you want to protect this sheet, what you can do is go to Review, protect the workbook. Password's optional, so I'll type a short password. We're going to go ahead in this case check the structure option and click OK. And it's going to ask you for the password again. Say OK. And what that's going to prevent people from doing is, if I give this to someone else, they can't go over here, they can't add a worksheet, they can't, if they right click, you notice that a lot of the options are gone, like insert, delete, rename, move, or copy. So they're not able to alter your sheet as easily, or they're not able to alter the overall workbook. They can still go in and type all their data and so forth in here, but they can't go and add worksheets or delete them for that matter. So one other quick note about this is I wouldn't take this as valid protection for very sensitive data, credit cards, social security numbers, things like that, because those passwords could be cracked in Excel. So I think that's about it for what I wanted to show you today, and thanks for joining, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be adding a lot more Excel videos soon. If you want to see anything in particular, let me know, and other topics, let me know also. Thanks.